You ever had that feeling you was stepping into something that was uncharted territory? Well, that's how I felt as my junior season approached. I knew I wasn't getting a lot of heat due to this being my first stint at organized ball, but I felt ready. I knew my game, and I knew how well I played and how well it showed in the streets. I mean, basketball is just basketball, right? So what's the difference? I knew my game was going to translate. All I had to do was play my style and let everybody know that this kid wasn't nothing new. Coach sat us down to let us know that the NBA was collabing with the high schools to create an in-season tournament of their own. And when I looked at our group, honestly, we could be the group of death here. St. John Bosco, Rod Wave Elite, those two names alone could knock us out, but I want the challenge. I think we can take them both on and honestly beat them. But looking at our rankings going into the season, I couldn't hate. We ranked number 12 in the country, and I know we had a good team that could possibly climb the rankings, but my eyes were on our opening game, the first team on our list, number 9, Camden High. The Panthers was a team that a lot of people felt like could win it all this year, not just state-wise, but nationally as well. Their team was stacked from up to down, led by Blake Harper, and honestly, their guard, JP Perry, was a young dude, I believe a sophomore, but man, he could put on a show if he wanted to. We knew we had a tall task ahead of us, but we wanted to start the season off right. And it's only right that we go on the road and show the entire nation that no matter where, if you're ranked top 10 or unranked, we're coming in to beat you. But right after the meeting, coach stopped me and said I was starting day 1. I was excited. I didn't think I played that well in the scrimmage, but coach saw enough in me to give me a chance, so I got to do the most. I could tell some teammates weren't exactly happy that the new guy with very little experience was starting, but I couldn't worry about that because next thing I knew, we were on the flight and we were at Camden, ready to put on a show to start the season and put everybody in the nation on notice that we weren't that team to look over, that this was our time and I was that dude. The lights were bright and everybody was tuning in. I could feel my nerves raging up as this is my first taste of real organized ball, and it only right I had to go against one of the top teams in the nation. I think all of us knew what this win could mean. The early statement being made, how everybody knew that we were for real. And as we got out the huddle and walked towards midcourt, the crowd only got louder. This is what I actually lived for. The play on a court against the best of the best with all eyes on me. I had to go out and put on a show. And early on in the game, it was back and forth, both teams figuring each other out, but it was an opening 3 by Camden that got the scoring started. And no matter what I tried to do, I just couldn't get it going. I thought I had a poster here. I was excited until I saw the ref. Old boy got in the paint just in time for the charge call. I was so peeved. I could have been on top right out the gate, but it got stripped away from me. That charge threw me off because no matter what I could do, I couldn't find a bucket. They were clogging up the paint and I was just stuck, almost like I was moving in slow motion. Eventually we tried to call pick and rolls and I started attacking the basket more, and the refs were finally giving me a call. But it's still like nothing would fall. Not my jumper, not my layups. I felt lost. And Camden, they kept moving. They kept pushing. And next thing I know, we were down 5-1. By the end of the third, we were able to get it within 2 points. But this was such a low scoring half, low scoring quarter, and I couldn't get anything going. As we walked to the bench, I saw my teammates, I saw the looks. They all thought the lights were too bright for me. They wanted the last year's starter in because their offense moved better. They barely would talk to me as they sat next to me, and I knew I had to show them something. Everybody was watching, and I couldn't let my first opportunity to represent go to waste. Coming into the second, we were able to tie it up, and McDaniel and Camden were still just shooting the lights out. It seemed like nothing we could do could stop them. But for me, I was finally able to get to the basket, take the bumps, and finally attack like I knew I could. The nerves, I just had to put them to the side. There's nothing I could have done. Started facilitating, getting into my big men down low, and we finally got our first lead of the game. And we slowly grew it to up to 5 at the half. I knew the second quarter was more my speed, and I was starting to hit baskets, and we were starting to flow as a team. And we kept moving with that pace for the rest of the game, and I kept moving with and without the ball. At this point, I didn't care about the lights. I didn't care about the critics. All I cared about was getting this win, and Camden was not going to let us do that as they kept staying in. But as they kept staying in, we kept attacking, and when I missed, my teammates had my back. And on defense, I just started to shadow this man. Ain't nothing he could do, even though Camden kept beating their big men as well. But eventually, I said enough was enough, and I started going right at their smaller guards. I knew they couldn't hang with me on offense or defense, and I was shadowing this boy no matter where he went. But I think he started to get the idea as well, because as soon as I got the ball, he was on me like white on rice. There was nothing we could do, and eventually we just had bad shot after bad shot. And it was a close game throughout. Going into the fourth, we were only up by 4. And if I told you the score after 3 was 25-21, you wouldn't even believe me. But we knew we just had to keep pushing. This was going to be an ugly game, an ugly win if we kept going. But we also knew this was the start of the season, and we couldn't hold our heads over it, you know? And at the end of the day, all we all wanted was to win and start off 1-0. So as we sat there, it was simple. Stop the big man, because he was eating us alive. Whether we had to double him down low, we didn't know. But we were going to get this dub. And for me, I knew what I had to do. Keep attacking. Keep going at them. Keep going downhill. And also just facilitate. Get my boys involved. I knew what they wanted to do. And eventually, when we got on fast breaks, I kept just giving it to them. Giving it the mismatches. Giving it to the big dudes. And attacking when I could. And eventually, it was too much for Camden. Eventually, we got away with the win 45-33. And we started off the season 1-0. I didn't really like how my game went that day. But they named me player of the game. So, I mean, you can't really complain, can you? There was a lot of work for us to do. And this season was going to be tough. But to beat the number 9 team in the nation and to play well even when adversity was striking us, we knew we had a lot of work to do, but we felt good. Coach told us he was proud of us for fighting through. And I mean, I guess I agree with him, but shooting 6 of 17 wasn't exactly how I wanted to start off my career. After our big win over Camden, we were very inconsistent, going 3-4 to start the season. And as we headed towards our in-season tournament matchup versus Zachary, we knew we had a lot of work to do. With George Rook leading the way for the Broncos, I knew deep down they wanted to make a statement themselves. They were also struggling, but a win over us could jumpstart their season and put the entire nation on notice that they were a scrappy bunch. For us, we also knew what we had to do. We had to get this back on track. Being 3-4 and second to bottom in our division was not going to cut it, especially with St. John Bosco off to a 6-2 shot. Me personally, I knew I had to get my job. I had to go out there and dominate like I knew I could. And as I sat there and listened to the Star Spangled Banner be sung on the road, I only had one thing on my mind: take over from word go. Everybody on the team had that same thought. We knew our start wasn't what we wanted. We knew we made too many mistakes. We knew we were way better than our record. And we were not going to let our season be for waste. Not for the guys who are seniors, not for me, not for anybody else. We had to put our names out there, and we were going to get the job done one way or another. As we sat in the huddle, Coach gave us the game plan, and it was simple. Full on pressure, suffocating defense, fast-paced offense, get out on the break. We knew Zachary had bigs that would want to get in the half-court game so they can dominate on both sides of the ball, but we had the speed, we had the ability, we had the athleticism, and we had to take full effect of that. And he knew I wasn't afraid to go up against the Giants in the paint. So after we broke, he pulled me to the side and said, "Do what I do best." And that is attack the basket and make them pay for even trying to stand with us. We knew they were 2-7. They weren't having a great year. They needed this win, but I knew deep down I needed it more. This team needed it more because we have to get this season back on track. I didn't like us sitting in 9th place in the league overall. That was about to change. We about to turn up and turn this season around. That is for freaking sure. I came out the game like a man possessed. I was shoving people out the way, getting to the basket, and on fast breaks, I was looking at the open man, and almost like I had a third eye, I was finding everyone. I was coming out like I had a point to prove, and I definitely proved it when I shoved 24 out the way and rose up for a ferocious dunk that made Zachary call a timeout. I was not playing around this game, and everyone knew it and fed off of my energy, setting screens, making and ones, and when I made them, my team dapped me up like I was slowly earning their respect after my slow start. And Zachary, all they could do was try to weather the storm, and honestly, they were drowning from word go. Defensively, we were suffocating them, getting us out on the fast breaks, and I was finally hitting my middies. And by the end of the first quarter, the crowd was completely silent, especially after my poster. They didn't know what to do, and they slowly felt like this game was being brought away from them and ripped away from them, honestly, because no matter what they did, we were there, one step at a time. And their bigs, they just couldn't do anything, which allowed us to just keep doing our game. And next thing we knew, we felt very confident going into the rest of this game. And honestly, after that first period, it was just more of the same. We dominated from start to finish, and Zachary just looked outclassed. And I also put on a show, dunking on everybody, even flexing on the crowd. This was the first time all season I felt like my true self, and everybody was feeding off of it. The big men were hitting faders, we were getting out on the fast break, we were stifling teams on them on defense, and when I got out, I had to find my man Humphreys in the corner, and that was the dagger 3, and you knew he was hype. For the first time all year, we were vibing off of each other. And Zachary, they were a good team, but they were no match for us, and we knew deep down that they weren't. And by the end of the fourth quarter, most of the fans were either quiet or just gone all together. And there was nothing that team could do, as we ended up running away with this game 103-69. And when we went to the locker room, there was a spark, that we finally found our pace, found who we are, found our identity. And I knew this season had the chance to be special, especially if we played like this each and every night. With my 24 points along with Adams, we knew this team was special, and all we got to do is keep playing like we are now.